Ed Arango here from Ed's Auto Garage, wanting to give a shout out to our show sponsor, Arango Insurance Services. Arango Insurance Services is a full service insurance agency. We do home, auto, commercial, and any specialty. We specialize in the automotive space. So if you are a restoration shop, an OEM shop, a componentry manufacturer, we're able to insure you. It's a great time right now to have your policy reviewed, see if we can save you money, make sure you are properly insured, and at least evaluate your policy. See if you're in the right spot. So give us a shout out at Arango Insurance Services. You can reach us at our website, www.arangoins.com, or give us a call at 949-887-1274. Enjoy the podcast. We'll talk to you later. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ed's Auto Garage. As you know, this is Ed Arango coming to you live from my garage here in Southern California. It is Christmas time, so wish everybody a happy holiday season and happy New Year to those, to everyone out there. So today I have a special guest, very interesting organization. I have Jeff Mason from Piston Foundation, and I just found out Piston Foundation is based out of Connecticut, but Jeff is actually, you said in Colorado, Jeff?
Yep, I'm right in the city of Denver.
Perfect. So Jeff, let everybody kind of know a little bit. Let's start with your personal background and how you became enthralled with cars and the whole auto. I can see you've got some auto stuff back there and behind you. And how did you get involved in the whole car culture? Why don't you go ahead and just let us know?
Yeah, well, like everybody, I got bit early as a kid, and my brother and I grew up, taking apart everything we could and putting it back together. And my brother was really more into cars and muscle cars. Bikes were really the thing for me. And I spent a lot of years building custom bikes, and that was kind of my entrance in the mechanical world. But cars were always a thing, like every kid, there's some poster on your bedroom wall that is,
right.
Fast car, cool car,
Right.
whatever it was. That just continued on. I eventually, again, with my brother, we started rally racing. And this was a thing that really kind of got us from sort of car enthusiast to maybe the next layer up. I don't know what that is, car enthusiast plus. But we started racing a rally car, and that got me back into the automotive world kind of in a big way. And then got connected through some of the folks in our racing world, and to the Piston Foundation, which was at that moment really had not even launched yet. And this was about 2 years ago. And my professional background is in marketing and as a business owner and entrepreneur. And I've done that for decades here in Denver, and was kind of ready to kind of take on a new challenge. And so this sort of nexus of racing and business and a startup, which I've been through the startup process numerous times. So all of that, kind of coming together drew me to the Piston Foundation. And so I volunteered and then became COO of the foundation for a year, and then became president and COO just about 6 months ago. And so the foundation is, as I said, 2021 was our first year. The foundation has the mission to fund skilled trade education for students and apprentices who want to pursue a career in the collector car industry. So that's what it does. It's getting right down to the grassroots, getting kids. We don't have shop class the way we used to, so we've got to get young technicians engaged in new ways, and we've got to kind of light a path for them to get into technical schools, and then a path to get them into restoration shops and custom shops and hot rod shops and all the places where car culture lives and is built from the wheels up.
Now I know here in California, Jeff, I mean, I know that that the auto shop and classes at the high school, the local high school level, I mean, that's pretty much gone. Do you see that gone across the country at high school levels as well? Or
I think if you looked from far enough away, you would say yes. But if you dive down into some local programs, there are a lot of things happening across the country. I know we have one of our Piston Foundation ambassadors is connected to a tractor restoration program in Wamogo, Connecticut. I hope I have that right, otherwise I'm in trouble. But it's through the 4-H, and these are kids restoring old farmalls and John Deeres and Internationals. And the beauty of it is, an old tractor is a lot like a Model T.
Sure.
It's a simple machine that's easy to learn and easy to work on, but it's got all the hand skills and all the mechanical skills. So there are things like that happening all over the country, whether it's tractors, whether it's hot rods, whether it's any kind of custom. It is happening, and there are people investing in the next generation of mechanics and technicians, outside of the dealer network or outside of the modern car service industry. And but there needs to be a lot more of it. And one of the things that hasn't been there, which is one of the paths that we're trying to build, is how I get from being a kid that's come out of a 2-year technical school, and I want to get to a restoration shop, or I want to get into a program that's working on custom cars. That path there's a big gap there that's really hard to get over. Nobody has really painted this path. So we have a program which is about scholarships for those students and graduates, high school graduates who are just starting. And then we're also building what we call the Piston Academy. And the Piston Academy is a very traditional apprenticeship program that will be distributed across the U.S. and eventually have a brick and mortar school. And that is that way to say, hey, I've got a couple years of experience. I really want to now dive into this as a career. How do I get working with a craftsperson, a teacher, a master mechanic who can really teach me, metal shaping, upholstery, electrical, paint and body's kind of the easiest one because that kind of crosses over. But if you want to say, you want to become a panel beater and start, building body panels from scratch, that's almost a lost art across everywhere in the world, with a few exceptions. But so the Academy is about providing a hands-on, earn as you learn program to make that next leap. To say this is my career. I want to specialize in what could be classic cars, vintage cars, modern classics. Even to find somebody to work on your '87 BMW M6 and know what they're doing is a hard task these days. So we need young technicians coming in at all those levels, and we need to give them a path. And as with all education, we need to give them some funding. We need help. We need to be able to give them some scholarships. We need to be able to give them some training grants to get them through those early years that really kind of are financial hurdles that many can't get across. And that keeps the numbers down. So we're looking to get more young people into these careers.
Well, I'll tell you, what kind of keyed me to Piston Foundation was, I saw something. I forget where I saw it. Must have been on the internet someplace. I saw something that reflected me to Piston Foundation, and immediately it brought back, some years ago now, even probably about 8 years ago, my dad left me with an old 60s Mercedes, 6-cylinder, dual carb gas, but it had Zenith carbs.
Yeah.
And over my dead body, could I find anybody that could work on those things?
Right.
So I mean, I'm taking it to a shop and it's like, well, we've got Raphael, but he retired and his son might, and then this other guy, I think this guy still does. And it was like a weird thing. And then a couple years back, I had a 71 Corvette 350, still points, plugs, condensers, all the original old school kind of stuff. And not thinking myself, I mean, I took this kind of like, I didn't want to go to a specialty shop because I needed to adjust the timing on it. And I didn't want to just go to some expensive specialty shop and, I've got a waiting list and all stuff. So I don't know if you guys have Pep Boys out there.
Yeah, we have them out here. Yeah.
So not to badmouth Pep Boys or anything, but I just didn't even think twice about it. I just ran over to Pep Boys and I took the car and I said, "Hey guys, can you guys?" And they thought that to them, they were looking at a foreign spaceship. They didn't know what they were looking at. The young kids are in there, they were like 19, 18, 25, something like that. But they were like, where do I plug in the machine? I go, there's no plugging in of any machines. I mean, I just need, sir, we can't work. And it kind of threw me back. I was kind of like, wow.
Yeah. Wow. Times have changed.
Times have changed, and I've got, I have an old Alpha back here, and I've got my little specialty guy I have to run to.
Right. That you hope never retires.
No, well, this is second generation. So the dad already went. So this is the son who's maybe around my age, but yeah. So, I mean, that kind of, made me think that, I mean, you and I know that there's many facets of this that are becoming a lost art.
Yeah. Yeah. And Zenith carbs, try to find somebody who knows how to tune a set of Webers.
Yeah.
I mean, and God forbid you get over 2 barrels, like don't even think about, what you might've seen on a,
I mean, I have a mechanical Spica fuel injection on this Alpha back here, which is scary enough to me just to even say that. And if this thing takes a dump on me, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Right.
So it is a little scary, but I mean, but it's something that we need to hang on to. In I personally feel, here in Southern California, we have a real big car culture and a real big old car culture. We get a lot of the hot rods and all that kind of stuff, and
it's the birthplace of it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there is a lot of people that kind of dabble in that around here.
Yep.
But it's still hard. Now, does the foundation, you guys are doing or will be doing the scholarships? And when you start doing the training, is it going to be a charge to the student? Is there going to be kind of like, is it going to be kind of make sure the kid qualifies and then let you guys get him in?
Yep. So here's the model is really to work with the car community to fund these scholarships and these training grants for apprentices. We all have a vested interest in seeing car culture sustained, and we don't want to lose. Yeah, it's true that modern cars don't have the same systems as the old cars, but we don't want to lose that heritage. We don't want to lose that mechanical knowledge. That mechanical knowledge is really relevant to everything that's happening now as we move forward, even as we green the economy. Right? There's a lot of hand skills and practical engineering that is going to be needed to electrify our nation with solar. I mean, these are transferable skills, and so we have this great body of automotive heritage. We don't want to lose that. We want to get young people in, learn those skills, and they're going to carry those skills forward in lots of ways. So we see that as a big benefit to the car community. So we're looking at the car community, and we're building this so that everyday folks like you and me giving $25, $50, $100 are going to be the ones funding these scholarships. And so the Piston Fund, which is scholarships, is going to be our first scholarships will be awarded in at the end of summer 2022, going into fall for 2022 school. And those will be, like a regular scholarship program. That level of scholarship isn't set in stone yet. It could be 1,000 to maybe 5,000. We're still kind of trying to figure out where people need to be. And then the apprenticeship program is a earn as you learn program. So we're recruiting apprentices, placing them in qualified shops within a network that we've developed. And what happens with apprentices is what they can be paid is at the lowest tier of the pay scale, might be just minimum wage. And, because those restoration shops tend to be in zip codes that have higher taxes and higher cost of living, there's always this gap between, what a shop can pay an untrained person to both, have them work, but also invest in them to train them, because that's the shop's time and the shop's investment, and the cost of living. So what we see is there's this gap, and it tends to be about $7,500 to $15,000 a year for an apprentice. That's that sort of wage gap between what they can earn year one, year two, before they're fully billable and they're really, a contributing member of the shop in all ways. And so we're going to provide training grants, working with the apprentice and the shop to make up that gap. So we call it a training grant, but it's really this wage gap that we're covering to make sure that the shop can afford to invest in that person, the training that they require, the time that they require, and that cost of living is covered so that that apprentice can literally live in that community, work in that shop. That is a real sort of nuts and bolts basic thing that is really hard to get over outside of, unique situations. So we're looking to make that, the model. And of course, the apprenticeships are paid. They're working in that shop, earning a wage, earning an hourly wage, however the shop structures that. And we're looking to make up that gap. And the other thing we're layering on with this network of shops is we have a curriculum and learning objectives and an evaluation process that'll be implemented to mentor and guide that apprentice through that process, so that at the end of that, they'll be able to earn a certificate that says, hey, this is what I know, and this is certified by the Piston Foundation and their curriculum. And then they have a credential that they can take out into the marketplace and, either, stay where they are, go to a new shop, start their own. We don't know what'll happen, what they'll do after that. But
so it sounds like you got two things kind of going on at the same time. It's kind of identifying these shops around the country that will work with the Piston Foundation to have to kind of adhere to this kind of curriculum for potential employees or potential
apprentices.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's more like all shops. Here's the thing: shops know how to train people. They've been doing it forever.
Right.
So what we need to do is just put a little bit of structure on that to make sure that a young apprentice is getting through everything that they need to as their basics. That's the curriculum is not like lesson plans. It's more learning objectives. Like we need to get them through these tests. They need to be doing mechanical and electrical and body and paint and upholstery. They need some time doing trim. They need these experience. They need to learn how to hunt down parts. They they need to learn machining at some level.
Because every shop's a little different. Every shop's going to
Exactly.
do things a little bit different. The final outcome might be the same, but you do kind of like, that's a good point. You do have to have a little bit of a structure, and they have to they have to agree to oblige to that structure, these shops. And in the shop basically could turn around and hire that student.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they're making it. I mean, that shop is making a significant investment. We're just trying to cover a little bit of that to make it all, to grease the wheels and make it work and provide, a structure and a program that, people can move through. But it's true, if you were working at a shop that specialized, in a single mark like an Aston Martin, well, you're going to learn how to, do aluminum body panels. If you're working in a custom shop that's, working primarily on American muscle cars, well, you're going to work with steel body panels, right? So, and if, if you trained in either of those places and wanted to swap, well, you're just going to have to learn some new stuff. That's the way we've always been doing it, right? That's not the problem. But you get the basic hand skills, you get the basic engineering, the practical engineering skills. And from there, you take your career where you want to go. The final piece of the academy is, and we're working through this with some potential locations now, is to build a brick and mortar Piston Academy school. And the role of that school will be to have that next layer of learning. So if I've come through that apprenticeship program and I'm working in a shop and I say, you know what, upholstery is the thing that I really want to specialize in, or mechanical is what I want to specialize in. The school will have what could be a 1 week, 2 week, maybe a 1 month workshop that you will go and study there and do an intensive training on that specialty, and then come away from that saying, all right, now I know a lot more about that special set of skills than I did at the beginning. I've advanced my skill set. And so the school becomes that place where we can really work on specializing and more advanced things. And it's something that eventually can be open to the public and can be open to other working technicians who, have a need to learn something. A shop wants to send one of their best technicians to learn, how to form body panels because they've got somebody who's retiring in 5 years and they need a replacement. That's a classic scenario. So
do you see this brick and mortar school, wherever it ends up kind of first setting up, do you see it kind of like almost like some of these independent schools, kind of like a Wyotech or something like that, where students kind of go to it, or and they take a 12-week course, or they take a 4-week course or something like that in a specialty, then they leave with their little certificate and then they leave.
Yep. And they may bounce back and forth between their job and that and those workshops. There's a really successful program in the UK called the Heritage Skills Academy, and they're doing this right now. They're going into their 6th year. They're located on the Bicester campus, which is, I believe, an old Air Force base. And what they've done, the government has funded a program of heritage skills through their lottery program. And they built this campus where they brought lots of businesses together. So it's automotive, marine, and aerospace. And so you've got a campus with all these workshops with for-profit and nonprofit businesses running, but all teaching these heritage skills. And the Heritage Skills Academy has done this for automotive, and they have a partnership program where they're placing students at restoration shops or manufacturers at Jaguar, at Rolls-Royce. And that apprentice is working there, I think it's 6 weeks, and then they come to the academy for 2, and then they go back, and they have this, they're just moving back and forth as they move through the curriculum. So again, it's the earn as you learn type of program. That model may or may not work in the United States. It won't work exactly as they do it because it's just a different culture and a different set of circumstances. But we work with them. They're strategic advisors to us, and And so we're adapting some of what they're doing to model this program for ourselves. Our hope for the Academy is that before the end of 2022, we'll have our pilot program funded, which will give us a chance to get this out into the real world. And then maybe by the end of 2023, we'll be ready to launch it full. So
I mean, I'm assuming that it's, that with the guys in England, I mean, I'm sure that it's very well received that you guys are doing this here as well.
Yeah, they're very supportive. They have a successful model and we're working together to adapt, what they're doing to what we're doing, as we can and as we move through you can never get around the differences of culture and distance. So, what we do in the U.S. has to be different in some ways, but we're all working towards the same end. We had some conversations today about the potential to have some exchange between students between the U.S. and Europe, that would get U.S. apprentices right into the heart of European motorsport, and we can get to that point, that's just exceptional. That's what we want. That level of exchange and cooperation across all the car cultures that exist. Nearly every country has one, and they're all a little different, but there's no reason we won't be working together.
Have you guys, just out of curiosity, since I kind of deal in the automotive insurance space, is kind of my day-to-day. Have you guys had any conversations with folks like say Grundy or American Collectors, or the big guys like Haggerty
Yeah, sure.
and McKeel and all that group over there?
Yeah, we have, and those conversations started right at the beginning. In some places, we've got a lot of synergy and a lot of fit. In other places, they've got some other programs that they're working with. Haggerty Drivers Foundation has the RPM Foundation, which has a similar mission to ours. Theirs is a little bit broader. Mm-hmm. And so, we anticipate somewhere down the road, we're all pulling in the same direction, which is great. So, what they're doing helps us. We hope that what we're doing helps them. The goal is to get more young people into these career opportunities, and ensure that all of us who want to keep driving our classics and modern classics have a way to do that. Keep it on the road. Keep those cars running. We don't want to lose them. They may eventually convert to different engines. Who knows? What'll happen. Mm-hmm. But that's perfectly fine. If you've got an Alpha, you still want to have an Alpha.
I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, in a lot of situations, as I've gotten older, it's kind of, you start kind of realizing that it's just not the car. It's not just the car itself. It's everything that kind of encompasses the car. It's the feel, it's the touch, it's the quality of I don't know, the dashboard or the shifter knobs, and how things click into gear. So there's a lot of those things that one loses, and like we were talking earlier, I mean, I have a couple of sons, and I started them with cars really young and making sure they knew how to drive a stick, and everything's been stick shift and driving, and I always had older collector cars. So that's kind of like in the back of my head, I've always kind of thought, you kind of have to preserve this somehow, this mentality, because it's very easy for a kid to not know what it's like to be exposed to that. And I've had other people on the podcast that have kind of really sent the message to everybody out there that has an old car, a collector car, a hot rod, and goes to Cars and Coffee and goes to little car meetups and stuff like that, to allow young kids in your car, let them
Yep.
sit in the car, let them touch it, let them take them for a ride if you can. But because so many of us kind of like, no, don't get close to my car, don't touch it, whatever. But you kind of, in a sense, if you want to preserve it, you kind of need to let the youth feel it, because that sticks in their head.
Yeah.
20 years ago, remember when I went to that car show and that guy let me jump all over his car and go in his car? I mean that does happen.
Yep.
So
I will never forget. It's actually it's a fun thing that my brother and I do. We race a 65 Volvo Amazon rally car. It's a steel shell inside. It's full rally car. We race that. That car is specifically made for the Carrera Panamericana in Mexico. And so it is a very different kind of car. It's even a very different kind of rally car than what anybody might expect. And there is nothing more fun than taking a friend, putting them in the passenger seat and said, let me take you for a ride, because it's such an experience for them. They've never, they've never been in a race car like that. So, one of the greatest things is to have a friend, who wants to ride in the Volvo, and put him inside that thing. And, it's a 5-point harness, roll cage, everything, and just take him for a rip. And, it's the sounds and the smell and, just the feeling. You feel everything. And, it's an eye-opening experience for everybody. And, my daughter just, she loves to be in that thing and take a good rip on it. The analog, the mechanical, it's just part of who we are as human beings. And so, we absolutely need to advance our energy policy, and we need to reduce emissions, and all that is true. And we're just going to need to figure out how to hold on to, some piece of this mechanical, this analog, in a way that makes sense going forward. But I know for certain, for at least another 50 years, I'm not letting classic cars go. And I know there's a lot of people like me, kids, I meet lots of 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds are just totally bonkers for classic cars. So I know that the love is there. And, we want to make sure that there's young people there, with the skills to learn this, because just like, somebody passed it on to us, and we've done with it what we've done, and we need to pass it on to the next generation and let them figure out what they're going to do with it. But we certainly aren't going to chuck all these cars onto the scrap heap. That would be a tremendous loss for everybody.
No, of course. And and it's kind of funny, listening to what you were saying, it made me think that, when my sons were little guys, 8, 9 years old, 10 years old, I was, selfishly, I drag them with me to like Monterey to go up to the historics to go watch the racing. Right. And I didn't think they would take to it. Now, fast forward, they're in their late 20s now. And last year, a couple of months ago in June, when they had the historics, because of COVID, they moved the dates around.
Yep.
My 25-year-old, who's still here, goes, hey, Dad, let's go up to the races. And I was like, oh man, I'm not ready to go. I wasn't ready to go up to the races. And we did. And we took off in the old Alpha, and we drove, it was a 600-mile round trip drive in this car, crossing our fingers, no air conditioning,
that's right,
that it wouldn't fall apart.
Yeah, that's an experience.
But it was part of the adventure.
Yeah, totally.
And it was such a great bonding opportunity for us.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't know how many more chances I'll have to spend with my boys like that. Yep. So, I mean, it is a really good experience. So to everybody out there, when you have a chance, just get kids in your cars, get your own kids in your cars. If you have grandkids that are, not paying attention to cars and watching TV and playing video games, get them in your car, and they may not like it today. They may not like it tomorrow, but eventually they'll come around. It'll start coming around. Yeah. Jeff, with the Piston Foundation, so we've kind of talked about how you're going to be having these shops. How are you guys approaching these shops? I mean, do you have a methodology behind the way you guys are talking to these shops to see about getting them to set up this apprenticeship in there?
Yeah, luckily, we've got a group. Our core staff is a group of 13 volunteers now. These are all, people who are donating their time and their professional skills. All of us within the organization are car folks, so luckily we have a pretty broad, personal network that we're working through, and then just making key connections and working out that way. There's a gentleman, his name is Kent Bain, who founded a very significant shop in Connecticut called Automotive Restorations Incorporated in Stamford. And Kent worked in the industry. He's one of those people that, really built the collector car industry. He's of that generation. And so, through Kent, he's guiding the Academy program. And so we have a short list of shops who we're in contact with. And, nobody says, if I came to you as a shop owner and said, hey, I want to bring you qualified candidates who have been vetted and are ready to work, and I'm going to help you pay for that salary, you don't get very many no's. So we're working through a short list of shops that, that we have connections with, that we know can support, who are, these are shops that are already, training apprentices in a structured way.
Okay, got that.
We're just trying to amplify that. But there's shops of different sizes. We spoke yesterday with a shop that has, they're 90 employees, and we've got another shop that we're working with that's 2. They're both totally qualified for this because of who they are and what they do and how they approach their business. So, for any shops that are interested in working with us, you can contact us through our website and just raise your hand. As I said, the Academy program it's going to be something significant. We're building it to be something significant, but it's going to take some time. It's not it's not a lemonade stand that you can throw up in an afternoon.
Right.
So it's going to take us a couple of years to realize it fully. But we're working towards that. When we can fund the pilot program, that'll get us shops in Northeast, Midwest, West Coast, and Southeast. That's sort of our cross that we'll cover. And work through the program in a very real way on the ground, work out all the kinks, learn what we need to learn so that we can launch it more fully. And our goal is to, continue to add shops each year. I don't think we don't need 1,000 shops. It'll be somewhere probably less than 100 shops across the country that are engaged in this when it's fully realized. But that'll be enough. That'll be enough to make an impact. There'll be enough for us to ensure the quality, the experience, and get people on a career path that they can sustain. So
are you just looking for those high school graduates, or will you also entertain older people that are in their 50s or 60s or whatever, maybe not 60, but
yeah, on the apprenticeship side, the shop's got to make the investment. So I can't speak for how, which candidate the shop will choose. But they're in the world of skilled trade education, whether for any trade, if you look at the plumber's trade, there are a lot of people that come to that skilled trade education between 24 years and 32 years of age, right? So they finish high school, they go out, they're doing something, and maybe they discover, maybe they started and they're like, hey, I want to make a change. So they come to it later. So those, anybody who is, beginning that path and saying, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to a 2-year auto tech program to get my basic understanding of mechanical skills, my basic hand skills. And then what I really want to do is head off into the collector car world. Anybody at any age, that's somebody we want to help.
Got it.
And, what we really want to do is, I want to reach back into the high schools and the middle schools eventually, to get kids engaged at those ages. But that's going to take a while, and that'll never be everybody, because we just don't pursue careers that way. It's not a linear, it's not a linear thing. We all kind of meander, and so the right people, we hope to connect with it at whatever age they're ready to jump into it.
How have you guys already started placing students in shops?
We have not. So the Piston Fund scholarships will launch in the spring, and then we'll make our first awards in end of July for the fall term. So those.
Okay, got it.
And prior to that, we have some schools that we're working directly with that we're going to launch some very tailored scholarship programs with them. That'll be earlier in 2022. The Piston Academy, we'll have this sort of phase one development that we're doing with some currently working apprentices and shops. And then we'll launch the pilot program late 2022, 2023. So it's early days, and but in some ways we have to get everybody excited about this idea, because it's really going to take a village to do this. We've got to have partners who are committed to the idea, not just for their own benefit, but for the good of the car community, because we're really trying to turn the ship. It's been going in the wrong direction for a long time in terms of career and technical education was just ripped out of high schools and middle schools.
Yeah.
STEM has brought that back in, and it's actually launched, it's built a new awareness of technical education and the value of it. So we're actually kind of following on, the STEM programs who have, well established the value of that. And so now we're trying to kind of, in some ways, broaden that, but also kind of look back and say, hey, we had something that was valuable, we lost it, and let's bring that back in a way that makes sense today. That is a tide that's rising, regardless of what we're doing. The career and technical education tide is rising. There's federal funding behind it. That's where a lot of STEM programs have come from, and now those successful programs are building on, and they're recognizing that a college, what I call the college at all cost approach, doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
And a skilled trade is not a consolation prize. It's a valuable, rewarding, engaging, difficult, mentally, intellectually taxing career that is perfect for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people have not been given that opportunity over the last 20 years. Hence, every trade is raising their hand saying, we need more people. We need more people engaged in this work. And so that career and technical education tide is rising. We're trying to be a part of that, join that movement. I don't see that stopping. I think we're going to get to a new place where you're going to see shop class back in schools in a way that kind of looks familiar.
Now, you have a marketing background. Have you guys started exposing anything of Piston Foundation to school levels yet? I don't know if is it through like districts or school districts through certain counties?
Yeah, we haven't tackled that yet. We've been working more from the demand side, which is the shop side. It takes a while to build those connections, and having a working program. We do have there's a really exceptional technical school down in Georgia that has a motorsports program that we're working directly with. That's going to be actually our first scholarship program, and because there's great alignment between what they teach in their motorsports program and what is needed in restoration work. In motorsports, you still have fabrication, you've got work with composites, you've got chassis building. So even though you think, oh, motorsports is this very rarefied world, and it is at the sporting level, but a lot of the people who are engaged in that have the right skill set for restoration work, because you're still making body panels, whether they're metal or composite, you're making them because, most race cars are still bespoke, like, most sports cars.
Well, so the skill is there. The widget might be a little different, but the skill is there,
right,
to be able to apply to it.
That's why a lot of the, a lot of people came out of aerospace and moved into hot rodding, moved into custom cars, moved into restoration. That's why there's such a strong base of restoration shops in the Northeast, because we had a big manufacturing base, particularly in Connecticut, with Sikorsky, and and then there were the shipbuilders along the Northeast coast. So that kind of idea of fabrication, metal fabrication and machining was well established through other industries, and then people just transferred those skills. That's just the way it happens. That's the natural course of things. So to come back to your question, we're working sort of, our front door are the shops. That's where we're working. And as we establish our programs, then we're going to work back into the educational industry and working through schools and districts to find those opportunities, and then make sure that, students with an interest are finding us. That's really the key, that students with an interest are finding us. That's sort of happening on its own as we talk about what we're doing. There's people with a drive, and they find the answers they're looking for because they're motivated to look. So for now, that'll be enough.
So so are you making, or is the plan to maybe encourage girls more into the industry?
Yeah. I think our very first apprentice that we're funding is a woman.
Great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Personally, I think there's a lot more attention to detail there than there is with a young kid that's bouncing like a squirrel all over the place. But
yeah, diversity is a big part of what we want to do. It's a big topic. As the foundation grows, we'll address that more and more, but it's certainly, within our plans, and, we have a strong awareness of that. Even with our own group, we try to keep our core group of volunteers and staff, as diverse as it can be. So there's a lot of awareness, at the ground level, for that. And luckily there's a lot of great role models. There's women out there doing great stuff, and they're visible. And that is attracting new young women into the careers.
Do you think we'll see ads or commercials for Piston Foundation on Motor Trend or on Velocity or any of those channels where we start seeing stuff like that, where all the car shows are?
Yeah, I hope very soon. I hope by the end of this coming year, there are some things in the work that would make that possible.
Yeah.
We'll be attending Cavallino at the end of January in Palm Beach, which is sort of the premier Ferrari show, which is, just one community within the car world. It's just one group, and sure. But that'll connect us to a bunch of things. But we're trying to be in all the places we need to be to reach into the community and make sure people know who we are, and it'll all grow pretty organically from there. Yeah.
The prospect student to come to be accepted into the group, have you guys already put together a way of vetting them to see if they're really going to be able to follow through the whole process and finish?
Yeah, it's a little different when you're talking about scholarship versus apprenticeship. So we have to know which program we're talking about.
Maybe the scholarship, if we're talking about the scholarship side of it.
Yeah, so we have some pretty very clear criteria for what we're looking for in those students. The truth is, a lot of the people who will excel in this career are people who won't be your star students coming out of an academic environment. So we're working very hard to make sure that our evaluation matches up with that reality. Meaning, if I was going to judge applicants on the structure of a 1,000-word essay, that's probably not the right way to evaluate somebody who wants to take this career path, because we know from our own personal experience as people in it, and we know from managers of those people that may not be the best test. So our evaluation process takes that into account. On the apprenticeship side, there's a much more hands-on approach of in the placement process of interviewing. There's a trial period. There's a lot of mentoring that happens in the early stages of an apprenticeship program that we're providing. That the shop is doing their part, but we're also providing that within the structure of the program, because and we have this kind of what will probably be a 3-month, make it or break it period. At 3 months, if this isn't working for you, then it's not the right path. The great thing about that is there's a lot of paths in the collector car world that aren't in the workshop. There's sales, there's parts. Being a parts professional is a whole nother world of magic for people who can source parts for old cars, or you develop their relationships with the suppliers. So there's that. There's sales. There's parts. There's auction. There's historians that are working. The top shops all now have historians on staff, because they're researching the histories of these cars to make sure that restoration is as accurate as it can be. So there's lots of other paths that just aren't the workshop. And so we hope that we can evaluate people and then get them into the right path. And if the workshop isn't the place for them, then there's going to be other options.
Yeah, it made me think. I mean, you can teach these folks so many facets of the automobile in general. I mean, even to like, if they even wanted to get involved with like collector car sales, be it a Sotheby's or RM auctions or whatever type of a thing, a Mecum, and they have to learn how to, about these vehicles. And I'm sure they want to hire sales guys and gals that have a good background in that.
Right.
As well.
Right. Those, so that basic technical, training, 2 years school, it gives you this basis of mechanical knowledge that, sets you up to, well, hey, if you're going to be auctioning off these cars, it's best if you really know how they work, So,
right.
If you spend some time just getting your hands dirty and then discover, hey, I liked it, but I like this better, that's great. I mean, most people who end up in sales in the various areas of this industry have started, wrenching their own stuff or working with somebody, and they said, I like it, but my aptitude is actually here, or, it's in sales, it's in parts, it's in, it's also, these shops need business people. They need, when you look at what defines a successful shop from one that isn't, particularly when you start to look across generations, these are businesses that need to be run well. So,
operation managers and things like that.
Right. So again, you may try your hand at the shop and feel like, it wasn't perfect for me, or I had this interest in business, or business just made sense. So you can take that path and then bring that. And then, for someone who wants to be a business manager coming into the restoration industry and say, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity to manage a shop to success, I don't have everybody top of mind, but I imagine if you marketed that right, you'd probably have a number family-owned shops that would jump at the chance to bring somebody in with those kind of skills, because to survive, they need that.
Sure.
And it's a sad truth of all creative businesses, and I count restoration as a creative business, just like boat building and cabinet makers. They don't always tend to be the best business people because they're just not wired that way. They're creative.
Right.
Practical engineers. They see, they don't, the business tedium bores them, and the creative side engages them. So we need to find the right people to put in all those places.
And it's kind of funny because in a lot of these smaller mom and pop repair shops, restoration shops, what have you, it's usually the guy that starts the shop and wants to have his own shop. He is the mechanic. He is the guy working on wrenching. He's the guy working on the vehicles. He has no business sense aside from the fact that he knows there's a demand for what he's able to provide people with his services, but the managing of the business and the books and what have you. And what do they 99% of the time, what do they do? Hey, wife, come over here and take care of my books.
Yeah, it's a difficult business to manage. And it's an expensive business to manage. So, you look at the shops that succeed, and they've been able to build some of that mix in there. They've got some business people in there. So while we're focused on the immediate grassroots needs of those technical skills and that skilled trade, we know that there's people that are going to take some different paths, and we're not developing a business management program through the foundation, but I'm confident that is going to be a knock-on effect, which is great. Which is these businesses, the industry needs that. We need that stability. We need a path forward that is sustainable.
It's kind of funny. I mean, having this conversation with you, my head kind of, you start seeing all these other facets where this could go. That's kind of a little mind boggling. And I'm sure you've kind of experienced it too. You probably kind of go, man, we could do this and we can do this with the foundation, and we can expand into this area. I mean, there's different facets of it that can totally expand. Hey, Jeff, why don't you let people know, we've got people that are interested in learning more about the foundation. Where can they find out more about the foundation if they want to donate to the foundation, or if they want to volunteer to the foundation? How is the best way to get to encompass all of that?
The answer to all those questions is the magical website. So pistonfoundation.org. And you can if you want to learn more about what we're doing and stay up on that, sign up for our newsletter, because that comes out monthly, and we're sharing what we're doing and all that's happening and all the opportunities that are there. You can donate on the website, at a dollar amount that's comfortable for you. Those dollars go directly to fund scholarship programs and apprenticeship programs.
Tax deductible type stuff, all that normal, right?
Yeah, yes, that we're a nonprofit 501c3 public charity. So all donations are tax deductible to the degree that they are in your state. And so you can donate online. And if you are a student or an apprentice interested in applying for a scholarship, there's an apply button there on the website. So you can raise your hand, let us know who you are, and when that next application window opens, we'll notify students and apprentices that application window is open, and they can apply in full at that point. We do a lot on social media, all that we can. So you'll find us on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, just at Piston Foundation. And but the newsletter is probably the best way to get us. Either follow us on social or sign up for the newsletter. That is the best way to stay up to date on what we're doing. And if you feel motivated to give to the cause, we serve the greater car enthusiast community. We're working for them and nobody else. As a public charity, we have no other no other agendas as far as, our funding and what we're doing. I'm very focused on our scholarship and apprenticeship program. So yeah, so pistonfoundation.org, very simple.
Well, thank you very much. Again, everybody, if pistonfoundation.org. I'll go ahead and I'll have some stuff on our show notes about this. But hey, Jeff, thanks so much for taking some time and kind of bringing us all up to speed. And hey, real quick, so do you have any classic car other than the Volvo? Do you have any other classic cars or anything in your back pocket there?
I'm light on classic cars at the moment. I have the Volvo, but I am hot on the trail of a 74 914 2.0. So
nice.
Just about ready to add another one. I cleared a space in the garage, just about ready to fill it. So my classic car quotient is going to go up exponentially pretty soon.
Well, I'll tell you, we're going to talk about this afterwards, but I had a 73 914 for many. So just between you and I, if you need some parts, I have some still kind of bouncing around here in the back.
Right.
So I do have some 914 parts bouncing around.
Terrific.
So again, thanks so much for your time and jumping on, and we will see you. And again, everybody, pistonfoundation.org, great organization trying to help out with not losing the car culture. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, Ed.